The billionaire's unlikely confession. Are you going to stare all night? Hook. The Imperial Hotel ballroom shimmered under 1,000 crystal lights, a symphony of hushed chatter and clinking champagne glasses. But amidst the city's most powerful, all eyes were on him. Alexander Thorne, a billionaire widower, notoriously reclusive. Yet tonight, he wasn't just observing. He was cornering a server, a quiet woman in a simple uniform, balancing a tray of flutes. What he said next, in a voice that cut through the opulence, made everyone freeze. Are you going to stare at me all night? Or are you actually going to say something? The air crackled with tension. Who was this server? And why was the formidable Alexander Thorne fixated on her? And what secret would unravel between them that night, changing both their lives forever? If you've ever felt misunderstood or judged, hit that like button. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single twist in this dramatic tale. Leave a comment below. What do you think he's really after? The unexpected encounter. Are you going to stare at me all night, or are you actually going to say something? Clara didn't look up from the tray she held, the champagne glasses trembling slightly, but her voice was firm. She'd felt those eyes on her since she entered the Imperial Hotel ballroom half an hour ago. Sorry, I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. The voice was softer than she expected. Clara finally looked up and met the gaze of a man in his 40s, dark suit, slightly disheveled hair. He wasn't like the other guests who laughed and shouted too loudly. But you are making me uncomfortable, she said, adjusting the tray. I have work to do. I know, He stopped, as if the words were caught in his throat. Can I ask you something? Depends on what it is. Why don't you look at me like everyone else? Clara frowned. That's a strange question. I don't know you. Why would I look at you in any special way? Exactly, he said, and for the first time he smiled a little. You're the first person in 3 years who has told me that. Look, sir, I don't know what game this is, but I have to work. People want their drinks, and my boss won't understand if I start chatting with you. Alexander, he said. My name is Alexander Thorne. The name sounded familiar, but she couldn't place it. Clara noticed that some people were looking at them from a distance, whispering among themselves. Well, Alexander, it was nice, but wait, he interrupted her. I know this is going to sound strange, but could we talk another time? Not here, somewhere quieter. Are you crazy? I don't know you at all. You're right. It's crazy, but it's just that... He ran a hand through his hair. I haven't left my house in 3 years. This is the first time I've come to an event like this. And of all the people here, you're the only one who... Who what? Who talks to me like I'm normal. Clara observed him for a moment. There was something in his eyes she couldn't decipher. It wasn't arrogance like the other rich men she'd met. It was more like weariness. Look, I don't know what happened to you in those 3 years, but I'm not your salvation or anything like that. I'm a server who needs this job. I'm not looking for you to save me, he said quickly. Just, I don't know, maybe we could get a coffee, like normal people. Men like you don't get coffee with women like me. And what kind of man do you think I am? Clara looked him up and down. The expensive suit. The watch that probably cost more than she made in a year. The way other guests looked at him with respect and fear. The kind who gets whatever he wants without much effort. You're wrong, he said, and his voice sounded more serious. I don't have anything I really want. And what do you want? Until 5 minutes ago, I didn't know. A waiter rushed over to Clara. Clara, Mr. Thompson is looking for you. He says you have to serve the terrace tables right now. Coming, she replied. Then she looked at Alexander. I have to go. I understand, but my offer still stands. Coffee, tomorrow afternoon. There's a place called the Blue Mug near Central Park. At 5. I didn't say yes, but you didn't say no either. Clara walked towards the terrace, but stopped for a moment and turned back. Why me? Because you were the first person who made me stop on a night when everything wanted to push me forward. She didn't reply, but something in her chest stirred in a way she hadn't felt in a long time. She walked away without saying anything else, feeling Alexander's eyes follow her until she disappeared into the crowd. That night, while washing dishes in the hotel kitchen, Clara couldn't get the conversation out of her head. There was something about that man that didn't fit what she expected, and for some reason that disturbed her more than it should. Do you think Clara should meet Alexander for coffee? Why or why not? Let us know in the comments. A familiar name and a troubling past. Thorn, you said. Clara's mother dropped the spoon into the soup bowl. Her face, which moments before had color, was now completely pale. Yes, Mom. Alexander Thorn. Do you know him? No, not exactly, her mother said, getting up from the table with nervous movements. It's just that surname. What's wrong with that surname? Her mother stood by the window of the small kitchen, her back to her. Clara could see her hands trembling. Mom, you're scaring me. What do you know about the Thorns? I worked for that family many years ago, she finally said, without turning around, before you were born. You worked for them? Why did you never tell me? Because they're not good memories, my dear. Clara got up and approached her mother. What happened? They fired me, her mother said, and her voice sounded broken, in a very cruel way. And I never told you the details because I wanted to protect you. Protect me from what? Her mother finally turned around. Her eyes were moist. From knowing that there are people in this world who can hurt you just because they can, because they have power, and you have nothing. Clara felt a knot in her stomach. The conversation with Alexander suddenly took on a different color. Mom, I need to know exactly what happened. No, Clara, it's better if you stay away from that family. Whoever this Alexander is, he can't bring anything good. But Mom, no, her mother shouted, something she almost never did. Promise me you won't talk to him again. Clara fell silent. She couldn't promise, and her mother knew it. Meanwhile, at his house, Alexander paced his study. He couldn't get Clara's image out of his head. Her direct way of speaking, the way she wasn't intimidated by him, how she looked at him like he was just anyone. It had been 3 years since he'd felt like this. It had been 3 years since he'd felt anything, in fact. He picked up the phone and dialed the number of Maria, his assistant and lifelong friend. Maria, I need you to find something out for me. At this hour? Alexander, it's 11 at night. It's important. There's a girl who works at the Imperial Hotel. Her name is Clara. I need to know how to contact her. Why do you want to contact a server? That's none of your business. There was a silence on the other end of the line. Alexander, you worry me. You've been cooped up in that house for 3 years, and suddenly you want to investigate a stranger. Are you sure this is a good idea? No, I'm not sure of anything, but I need to do it. All right, I'll help you, but promise me you'll be careful. I promise. The next day, Clara arrived early at her day job at a small clinic where she worked as a nursing assistant. It was her day job, more stable than serving at events, but her mind kept revolving around the previous night's conversation with her mother. During lunch, she decided to call her mother. Mom, I'm still thinking about what you told me yesterday. Clara, please, I'm not going to pressure you to tell me the details, but I need to know one thing. Was Alexander's father bad to all employees, or just to you? Her mother sighed deeply. To everyone, my dear. He was a cruel man. But to me, he was especially cruel. Why? Because I refused to do something he asked, something he should never have asked. Clara felt the air leave her lungs. She was starting to understand. Mom, don't say anything else. Just promise me you'll stay away from that family. I promise I'll be careful. It's not the same, Clara. It's the only thing I can promise you right now." When she hung up the phone, Clara sat in silence. Part of her wanted to run, to get away from Alexander and everything his surname represented. But another part, a stronger one, wanted answers. What would you do in Clara's position? Would you seek answers or protect yourself by staying away? Let us know in the comments. Confronting the past, that afternoon at 5 o'clock sharp, Clara stood in front of the blue mug. She saw Alexander sitting at a table by the window. He saw her and smiled, but she didn't return the smile. She entered the cafe and sat opposite him. "I didn't think you'd come," Alexander said. "Me neither," she replied. "But I need to ask you some questions." "Anything you want." "What do you know about my mother?" The question caught him by surprise. Alexander frowned. "Your mother? I don't know anything about your mother." "Why?" Clara studied him carefully, looking for signs that he was lying. But he seemed genuinely confused. "What was your father's name?" "Richard Thorne." "Why are you asking me that?" "She worked for your family more than 20 years ago. He fired her." Alexander's face changed completely. Confusion turned to understanding, and then to something that looked like pain. "My God," he said in a low voice. "What's your mother's name?" "Elena Rodriguez." Alexander closed his eyes. "I remember her. She was very quiet," Alexander said, his gaze lost in his coffee cup. "Always serious, but not in a bad way, like she was carrying something heavy." Clara watched him without blinking. Every word he said made her more tense. "What else do you remember?" "That my father treated her differently from the other employees. More harshly. I was about 18 years old then. I didn't understand why." "And now you do understand?" Alexander looked her directly in the eyes. "I think I'm starting to understand many things I didn't want to see." The cafe was almost empty. Only an elderly couple in a corner, and the sound of cups clinking in the kitchen. Clara played with the napkin between her fingers. "My mother never told me the details of what happened, only that your father fired her in a cruel way." "After he died, I found some things," Alexander said. "Letters from lawyers, lawsuits that never went anywhere, employee testimonies. My father wasn't a good man, Clara. He was despotic, abusive to the people who worked for him. And you? Are you like him?" The question hung in the air like an accusation. Alexander took his time to respond. "I don't know. I hope not. But I carry his name. I run his company. I live in his house. Sometimes I wonder if one can escape what they inherited." "You can always choose," Clara said. "The question is whether you have the guts to do it." "Is that why you agreed to come here? To judge me?" "I came because I need to know who I'm talking to." Alexander nodded slowly. He was silent for a moment. Then he spoke. "When I was 25, I worked a full summer in the factory, on the floor, with the laborers. My father was furious. He said it was ridiculous. But I wanted to understand the business from the bottom up." "And what did you learn?" "That the people who worked there feared me, not because of who I was, but because of who my father was. Some employees hadn't spoken directly to me for years because they knew one misinterpreted word could cost them their job." "Like it happened to my mother?" "Probably." Clara felt a mixture of anger and sadness. Anger for what her family suffered. Sadness for realizing that Alexander also seemed to be suffering the consequences of his father's actions. "Why did you look for me, Alexander? And don't tell me it was a coincidence, because when I saw you last night, I didn't see fear in your eyes. I saw someone who talked to me like I was a normal person. And it had been so long since I felt like a normal person. Maybe because I didn't know who you were. Maybe. But now you do know. and you're still here. That's true. Clara could have gotten up and left the moment he confirmed he remembered her mother. But something kept her in that chair. My mother asked me to stay away from you, and you should listen to her. Are you telling me to leave? I'm being honest. Your mother has reasons to hate us, and I have no right to ask you to forget that. Clara studied him. There was something in the way he spoke, in how he didn't try to convince or manipulate her, that surprised her. You know what bothers me most about all this? She said. What? That I like you, and I should hate you. Alexander smiled for the first time since the conversation began. I like you too, and I should leave you alone. But you're not going to. No, if you don't want me to. At that moment, Alexander's phone rang. He looked at the screen and frowned. It's Maria, my assistant. Sorry, I have to answer. Alexander, where are you? A woman's voice was heard on the other end of the line. In a cafe. Why? With the server. Alexander looked at Clara, who could hear the conversation perfectly. Yes, with Clara. I need to talk to you. There are things you need to know about her. What kind of things? Not over the phone. Come to the office. Maria, I don't know what... Alexander, trust me. Come now. The call ended. Clara saw the worried expression on Alexander's face. What was that? I don't know. Maria's been acting strange since yesterday. Does she know you were going to see me? Yes, I asked her for help finding you. Clara felt a chill. Something wasn't right. I think you should go with her. And you? I need to think. All this is too much. They got up from the table. Outside the cafe, they stood facing each other, not knowing how to say goodbye. Clara, no matter what happens, I want you to know that I didn't know anything about what my father did to your mother. I know, she said, but the fact that you didn't know doesn't erase what happened. You're right. Are you going to look for me again? Do you want me to? Clara didn't answer immediately. Finally, she nodded. But next time, I want the whole truth. No secrets. No secrets, he promised. They walked away in opposite directions, not knowing that the conversation Alexander was about to have would change everything. Unmasking the betrayal, Clara arrived home, her head spinning. She found her mother sitting in the living room, looking at an old cardboard box on the coffee table. What's that, Mom? Old things, her mother said without looking up. Things I kept, and maybe should have thrown away years ago. Does it have to do with the thorns? Her mother nodded slowly. After you left this afternoon, I couldn't stop thinking. Maybe it's time you know the complete truth. Clara sat next to her. The box was full of yellowed papers, old photographs, and some personal items. What truth, Mom? Her mother took an envelope from the bottom of the box. Her hands trembled slightly. This is a letter I wrote more than 20 years ago. A letter I never sent. To whom? To the police? To lawyers? To anyone who would have listened. She handed the envelope to Clara. It was addressed to whom it may concern, in her mother's shaky handwriting. Read it, her mother said. But be prepared, because it's not easy. Clara opened the envelope carefully. The letter was handwritten on several pages. She began to read aloud. My name is Elena Rodriguez, and I worked for 2 years at the Thorne family home. I am writing this letter because I can no longer keep silent about what happened. She stopped and looked at her mother. Are you sure you want me to read it? Read it all, my daughter. It's time, Clara continued. Mr. Richard Thorne harassed me for months. At first it was comments, glances. Then he started looking for moments to be alone with me. He would tell me that if I was kind to him, my job would be secure and he could even help me with extra money. Clara's voice broke. She looked at her mother, who had tears in her eyes. Mom? Keep reading. When I told him no, that it wasn't right, he became furious. He told me that no one would believe me, that he was a respected man and I was just a domestic employee. But the worst wasn't that. The worst was when I went to talk to Ms. Davies, who was like the house manager, to ask for help. Clara stopped. That surname sounded familiar. Davies, like Maria Davies? The same, her mother said. She was very young then, but she already worked for the family. She was like Mr. Thorne's right hand. And what happened when you talked to her? Keep reading. Ms. Davies not only didn't help me, but she told everything to Mr. Thorne. The next day, I was fired. They told me that they had found missing money in the house and that I was the culprit. They threatened to call the police if I didn't leave immediately, and without making a scene. Clara dropped the letter. My God, Mom, why did you never send this? Because I was scared, and because I was pregnant with you. I needed to work. I couldn't risk being blacklisted. The Thornes had a lot of power. They knew a lot of important people. But this is terrible. And that woman, Maria, still works for them? As far as I know, yes. She must be Alexander's assistant now. Clara felt nauseous. The woman who yesterday on the phone acted as if she was protecting Alexander was the same one who betrayed her mother more than 20 years ago. I have to show this to Alexander. Are you crazy? Clara, that woman still works for him. Don't you think that if he were different from his father, he would have already realized the kind of person he has by his side? Maybe he doesn't know, or maybe he does know, and he doesn't care. Clara took the letter and put it back in the envelope. I have to try, Mom. I have to give him the chance to prove who he really is. My dear, I'm afraid they'll hurt you. Doubt will hurt me more than the truth. The next day, Clara called Alexander. He answered on the first ring. Clara? I didn't expect you to call so soon. I need to see you. I have something to show you. What is it? Not over the phone? Can we meet at the same cafe as yesterday? Sure. But are you okay? You sound strange. I'll be okay when we talk. An hour later, they were sitting at the same table. Clara put the envelope on the table. This is a letter my mother wrote more than 20 years ago. A letter about what really happened in your house. Alexander looked at the envelope without touching it. What does it say? Read it yourself. With trembling hands, Alexander opened the envelope and began to read. Clara watched as his expression changed with each line. First confusion, then horror, then rage. When he finished reading, he was silent for several minutes. My God, he finally said. Clara, I didn't know anything about this. I know, but Maria knew. Yes. Alexander ran his hands over his face. My whole life I've worked with someone who did this. How could I be so blind? You weren't blind. You were young, and you trusted the wrong person. Do you forgive me? He asked, looking directly at her. I know I have no right to ask you, but I have nothing to forgive you for, Alexander. But you do have to decide what you're going to do with this information. Alexander folded the letter and handed it back to her. I'm going to confront Maria, and then I'm going to do everything in my power to compensate your family for the damage mine caused. I don't need your money. I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about justice. For the first time since they met, Clara saw something in Alexander's eyes that reassured her. Determination. And maybe, just maybe, the possibility that things could be different. The truth revealed. Alexander stormed into his office like a hurricane. Maria was sitting at her desk reviewing some documents. She looked up when she saw him enter. Alexander, good you're here. We need to talk about that girl. Yes, we need to talk, he said, interrupting her. But not about her. About you. Maria put the papers aside. Something in Alexander's tone put her on alert. About me? I don't understand. Elena Rodriguez. Do you remember that name? Maria's face changed immediately. The expression of confusion turned into something closer to fear. Alexander, I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't lie to me, Maria. Not after 20 years." Alexander took a copy of the letter Clara showed him and placed it on the desk. "Read it." "I don't need to read it. I know what it says." "Then you admit it's true?" Maria got up from her chair and walked towards the window, turning her back to him. "Things weren't as she tells them." "No? Then tell me how they were." "That woman was trying to blackmail your father." "Lies. It's not a lie," Maria shouted, turning to him. "She came to me saying your father had touched her inappropriately, but what she really wanted was money. Money to keep quiet. That's not what the letter says. The letter was written later, when she realized she wasn't going to get anything. It's her revenge." Alexander stared at her. He had known Maria since he was 15. He had trusted her with everything. But something in her way of speaking didn't ring true. "And why didn't you tell me any of this when it happened?" "Because you were too young, and because your father asked me not to say anything. He didn't want you to get hurt. Or you didn't want me to realize what kind of man my father was." Maria approached him. "Alexander, your father wasn't perfect, but he wasn't a monster either. That woman saw an opportunity and tried to take advantage. And her daughter? Clara didn't know anything about this until 2 days ago. Is she also trying to take advantage?" "Of course she is. Doesn't it seem suspicious that she appears just now when you're starting to go out again? She saw you vulnerable, and she's manipulating you. You don't know Clara, and neither do you. You met her 2 days ago, Alexander. 2 days! And you're already here accusing me, who's been with you for 20 years. Bleh." Alexander was silent for a moment. Maria was right about something. He didn't know Clara well, but he also knew that what he read in that letter sounded too specific, too real to be made up. "Maria, I need you to tell me the truth. The whole truth." "I'm telling you the truth." "No, you're not telling me. I know you too well. When you lie, you touch your necklace. You've done it your whole life." Maria immediately lowered her hand. She hadn't realized she was touching her necklace. "Alexander, tell me what really happened." Maria sank heavily into a chair. For the first time in the 20 years he had known her, Alexander saw her completely defeated. Your father wasn't a good man with the female employees." "What does that mean?" "It means Elena Rodriguez wasn't the first, nor the last." Alexander felt as if he had been punched in the stomach. "And you knew?" "Yes, I knew." "And you didn't do anything?" "What could I do? I was a 23-year-old girl working for the most powerful man in the city. If I said something, he would have destroyed me." "You could have told me." "For what? So you would confront your father and he would disinherit you? So you would lose everything because of my conscience? That was my decision. You were a child, Alexander. An 18-year-old boy who idolized his father. I didn't idolize him. Yes, you did. And I wasn't going to be the one to take that illusion away from you." Alexander walked around the office, trying to process what he was hearing. "How many? How many women?" "I don't know exactly. Several." "And they all ended up like Elena?" "Most left quietly. Some received money to keep quiet. Elena was the only one who completely resisted. That's why she was fired that way." "Yes, your father was furious because he couldn't control her. And you helped fire her?" Maria didn't answer immediately. "Yes, I helped." "Why? Because your father ordered me to. And why? Because he was afraid that if she kept pushing, everything would come to light. And that would have ruined us all." "It would have ruined us all, or it would have ruined you." "What do you mean?" "I mean, you were complicit too, not just a victim. You were complicit." Maria stood up, furious. "I did what I had to do to survive and to protect you. You didn't protect me. You lied to me for 20 years. I protected you from the truth, because the truth would have destroyed you." That wasn't your decision." They stood staring at each other in silence. 20 years of trust destroyed in one conversation. "What's going to happen now?" Maria asked. "Now you're going to resign." "Alexander, please." "It's non-negotiable, Maria. I can't keep working with you knowing what I know." "And what am I going to do? This company is my life." "You should have thought about that 20 years ago." Maria picked up her bag and walked towards the door. Before leaving, she turned around. "That girl is going to hurt you, Alexander. And when that happens, it's going to be too late to fix it." "Maybe, but that's also going to be my decision." The door closed with a dry thud. Alexander was left alone in his office, feeling that for the first time in years, he was completely lost. A secret benevolence and a mother's last breath. Clara sat in the hospital cafe looking at her cold coffee. Her mother had been hospitalized for 3 days, and the doctors weren't giving clear answers. Just technical words she didn't fully understand, but which sounded serious. "Excuse me, are you a relative of Ms. Elena Rodriguez?" Clara looked up. An older woman in a white coat looked at her with a kind smile. "Yes, I'm her daughter. I'm Dr. Miller, the hospital administrator. Could we speak for a moment?" "Is it about my mother's condition?" "Not exactly. It's about other matters." They sat at a secluded table. The doctor opened a folder. "Ms. Rodriguez, there's a situation I need to clarify with you regarding your mother's treatment payments." "What about the payments? I've kept up with everything I could pay, and I know I owe for some consultations, but no, it's not about that. It's about the fact that your mother's treatment has been completely covered for the last 2 years." Clara frowned. "That's impossible. I pay out of my own pocket about everything I can, and Social Security only covers the basics. There's an anonymous benefactor who has been covering all expenses, the medications, the tests, the specialized consultations, everything." "An anonymous benefactor?" "Yes. The person specifically asked for it to be confidential. But now that the treatment has become more complicated, and we need authorization for some more expensive procedures, I need you to be aware." Clara was silent, processing the information. "Who is it?" "The person registered under the name Mr. Smith, but I have reasons to believe that's not their real name." "What kind of reasons?" The doctor searched through her papers. "The payments are made from a corporate account, a very large company, and when I called the number left to confirm the new procedures, a secretary answered, saying, 'Thorne Enterprises.'" Clara felt as if the air had been knocked out of her. "Thorne? Do you know that surname?" Clara didn't answer. She got up from the table so fast that the chair wobbled. "Miss, are you all right?" "I need to make a call." She walked out of the hospital, almost running. With trembling hands, she dialed Alexander's number. "Clara, what's wrong? You sound agitated." "I need to see you now. Where are you?" "At the General Hospital." "Hospital? Are you okay?" "My mother is hospitalized, but that's not why I'm calling you. I'm coming over." "No, don't come here. Let's meet at the usual cafe. In an hour." Clara arrived at the cafe before Alexander. She sat at the same table as always, but this time her attitude was completely different. When he entered, she didn't greet him. She just stared at him. "How long?" she said as soon as he sat down. "How long of what?" "How long have you been paying for my mother's treatment?" Alexander lowered his gaze. The moment he expected and feared had arrived. 2 years. Why? Because it was the right thing to do. Don't tell me that. Why, Alexander? Because when I read that letter from your mother, it wasn't the first time I'd heard that kind of story about my father. I hired a private detective to investigate. He found other women. Several other women. Clara felt nauseous. And I discovered that my father ruined many lives. Elena Rodriguez was just one of them. When I found out she was sick. How did you know she was sick? The detective had been trying to locate her to offer compensation. When he found her, he learned about her health condition. Compensation? Clara, for the last 3 years I've been looking for all the women my father hurt. I've tried to compensate them in some way. With money? With whatever they needed. Some wanted money. Others just wanted an apology. Others wanted nothing. But your mother, she didn't know I existed as someone different from my father. That's why you didn't tell her it was you paying for the treatment. Exactly. I knew if I did, she would reject the help, and I couldn't let her die because of either of our pride. Clara was silent for several minutes. When she spoke, her voice sounded broken. You didn't do it for me? No, you did it for your conscience. Yes. And what happens now that I know? Now you decide if you want me to continue or not. My mother is dying, Alexander. I know. The doctors keep me informed. They keep me informed. I'm her family. You're right, I'm sorry. Clara covered her face with her hands. I don't know what to feel. I don't know whether to be grateful or furious. You can be both. Why didn't you tell me before? Because I didn't want you to feel like you owed me something. What I feel for you has nothing to do with this. How can I know that? Because if it had been for you, I would have told you from the beginning. To impress you, to make you see me as a good man. But I didn't because I knew it would ruin any real possibility between us. Clara looked him in the eyes. There was something in his brutal honesty that disarmed her. I'm confused, Alexander. I understand. I need time. All the time you need. And my mother's treatment. It continues, regardless of what you decide about us. For the first time since she arrived at the cafe, Clara felt she could breathe. Thank you, she said softly. Don't thank me. It's the least I can do. They got up to leave. At the cafe door, Clara stopped. Alexander. Yes. You're a better man than you think. And you're stronger than you think. They parted ways again, but this time something was different. For the first time, both felt that maybe, just maybe, they were truly getting to know the person in front of them. Saying goodbye and finding peace, the rain beat against the hospital room window. Clara held her mother's cold hand. She had died peacefully 3 hours earlier. The nurses had already completed the necessary procedures, but she couldn't move from that chair. Ms. Rodriguez, a soft voice said behind her. Clara turned. It was Alexander, with wet hair and an expression of pain she had never seen on him. How did you know? The hospital called me. I'm sorry. I know they had no right, but since you were paying for everything. Yes. Clara looked back at her mother. She looked peaceful, as if she had finally found rest. She passed away 3 hours ago. I was asleep in this chair. When I woke up, she was gone. Alexander stood at the door, unsure whether he should approach or not. May I? Yes, you can come in. He walked to where she was, but didn't sit down. He just stood, keeping his distance. I'm so sorry, Clara. She died without knowing the truth. What truth? That the son of the man who hurt her was the one who cared for her in the end. I don't know if that would have made her feel better or worse. Maybe it's better this way. Do you think so? I think your mother died thinking her daughter was strong enough to care for her, and she was right. Clara felt the tears she had been holding back for hours. I don't feel strong. No one feels strong when they lose their mother. They were silent for a while. Outside, the rain continued to fall. Alexander. Yes? I need to leave here. From the city? Where? To Miami. I have an aunt there. I need to be away from all this for a while. From all this or from me? Clara looked at him directly. From you too. She felt a pang, as if she had expected that answer. For how long? I don't know. Maybe forever. I understand. Seriously? Seriously. You've lived too many things too fast. Your world changed completely in 2 weeks. It's normal for you to need space. You're not going to try to convince me to stay. No. If what you feel for me is real, it will still be there when you're ready. And if it's not, it's better to know now. Clara was surprised by the maturity of his response. Thank you. Why? For not making it harder than it already is. The next day, Clara packed the few things she wanted to take with her. She found her mother's letter and put it in her suitcase. She also found an old photo of both of them when she was about 10 years old. Her mother looked young and happy. It was before the illness came. Her phone rang. It was a message from Alexander. I don't know if you want me to write to you while you're away, but I want you to know that I'm going to respect your space. I just hope you find the peace you need. Clara read the message several times before replying. Thank you. I hope to find it too. In Miami, Clara settled into her Aunt Sophia's small house, her mother's younger sister. She was a cheerful woman who made empanadas to sell and filled the house with music and laughter. You look a lot like your mother when she was young, she told her the first night. But you have something in your eyes that she never had. What is it? Hope. Elena always seemed to be expecting something bad. You seem to be expecting something good. I don't know if that's true. You'll see. The days in Miami passed slowly. Clara helped her aunt with the empanadas, walked along the beach, read books she had wanted to read for years, but never had time for. In the afternoons, she sat on the boardwalk and watched the sea. Her phone remained almost always silent. Occasionally she received messages from Alexander, but they were always short and without pressure. I hope the wind there is gentler. Today I saw a hibiscus and thought of you. The sunsets here are not as beautiful as they must be there. She read all the messages but didn't reply to any, not because she didn't want to, but because she didn't know what to say. She was in a process of discovering herself without the weight of her family's past, without the pressure of deciding what to do with Alexander. One afternoon, while walking on the beach, she realized that she hadn't thought about him for a week, and that realization immediately made her think about him. She missed him. Was she ready to go back? She didn't know, but for the first time in months, she was curious to find out. The return. A future, unwritten 3 months after arriving in Miami, Clara received a call from the university. She had been accepted to finish her nursing degree, but she had to show up in a week for the final exams. Are you going back? Her aunt asked. I think so. It's time. And the young man? What young man? The one who sends you nice messages that you read, but don't answer. Clara laughed. Her aunt was more observant than she thought. I don't know. I guess I'll find out. True love waits, my dear, but it doesn't wait forever. How do you know it's true love? Because when someone respects your pain enough to let you go, but loves you enough to keep sending you digital flowers, their feelings are real. The day she left Miami, Clara felt different, lighter, but also more confident. She had had time to think, to cry, to heal. Now she was ready to face what she had left pending. On the bus back to the city, she wrote her first message in 3 months. Coming back tomorrow. Nursing exam on Friday. If you want, we could meet afterwards. The reply came immediately. I'll be waiting. And Clara smiled, because for the first time in a long time, hope was exactly what she felt. Clara left the university building with a smile she couldn't hide. The nursing exam went better than expected. After 3 months away from books, she thought she'd be rusty, but the answers flowed naturally. As she reached the entrance, she saw him. Alexander was leaning against a small, simple car, not the luxury vehicle she would have expected. He held a flower in his hand and an expression that mixed nervousness with hope. Congratulations, he said when she approached. How did it go? Good. I think good, she replied, unable to stop smiling. How did you know I was finishing today? Maybe I asked at the university. Maybe I've been asking every week for 3 months. Seriously? Seriously, he said, extending the flower to her. I still don't know if you'll want this, but I'm still here. Clara took the flower. It was a hibiscus, like the ones that grew in her aunt's garden in Miami. How did you know I like hibiscuses? Because you mentioned your mother had one at home when you were a child, and because I once saw you smile when we passed a stand selling them. The observation surprised her. In the midst of all the difficult conversations they had, he noticed something so small. What happened to your car? I sold it. Why? Because I realized that many things in my life were to impress people I didn't care about, and the people I really care about don't need me to impress them. They walked through the park near the university. It was late afternoon, and there were families with children, balloon vendors, elderly couples sitting on benches. You look different, Alexander said. Different how? More peaceful, as if you found something you were looking for. I think I found something I didn't know I was looking for. What? Peace. For the first time in my life, I'm not angry. They sat on a bench under a large tree. Alexander kept a respectful distance, as if he wanted her to decide how close to be. How have these 3 months been for you? She asked. Difficult, but necessary. Why necessary? Because they gave me time to think about what kind of man I want to be. Not the man my father was. Not the man people expect me to be because of my surname. Just me. And what did you decide? That I want to be the kind of man who deserves to be with you. And if that's not possible, I want to be the kind of man who can let you go without making you feel guilty. And if I decided I didn't want anything to do with you, then I would wish you the best and go on with my life, grateful for having met you. Clara studied him. There was something genuine in his way of speaking that she hadn't noticed before. Less desperation, more serenity. What did you do with the company? I changed many things. I implemented new policies to protect employees. I hired an HR specialist to make sure what my father did doesn't happen again. And financially? Some decisions have cost me money, but I've slept better in the last 3 months than in the last 3 years. Don't you miss the power? What power? The power of people being afraid of you isn't real power. It's just an illusion that keeps you isolated. A small child ran after a ball that rolled towards where they were sitting. Alexander picked it up and returned it with a smile. The child shouted, "Thank you," before running back to his parents. Do you want to walk? Clara asked. Of course. As they walked, she told him about Miami, about her aunt, about the afternoons on the beach. He told her about the changes in his life, about how he learned to cook, about the piano lessons he took. Piano? I always wanted to learn, but my father said it was a waste of time. And now? Now I do many things my father would have considered a waste of time. They arrived at a small cafe that neither of them knew. It was simple, with worn wooden tables and soft music playing in the background. Do you want to go in? He asked. Yes. They sat by the window. Clara ordered a latte, he a green tea. Can I ask you something? She said. Anything you want. Why did you wait? You could have moved on with your life, found someone easier, someone without all this baggage. Because I don't want someone easier. I want you, with all your baggage, with all your history, with all your strength. How can you be sure? Because in these 3 months, I had many opportunities to forget you, and instead, every day I missed you more. I missed you too. It was the first time she had admitted this aloud. And what does that mean for us? I don't know yet, but I think it means we can try. Try what? Try to really get to know each other. Without secrets, without the weight of the past, without rushing. Without rushing, he repeated. I like that. Me too. They left the cafe as it was getting dark. At the door, Alexander stopped. Can I take you home? You can take me to the corner of my street. Why the corner? Because I'm not ready for you to see where I live yet, but I don't need you to stay completely away anymore. He smiled. The corner is perfect. In the car, as they drove through the city's illuminated streets, Clara realized that for the first time in a long time, she felt exactly where she was meant to be. She didn't know what would happen between them, but she knew that whatever happened would be real, it would be honest, and it would be at their own pace. And that, she decided, was exactly how a love story should begin, a life of true connection. 6 months later, Clara arrived at the small apartment they shared in a quiet neighborhood of the city. It wasn't luxurious, but it had large windows that let in a lot of light, and a small terrace where they had put plants that she cared for diligently. She found Alexander in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, trying to decipher a recipe on his phone. What disaster are you cooking up now? She asked, putting her work bag on the table. It's not a disaster. It's a culinary experiment. Oh, right, like last week's experiment that ended up being pizza delivery. This time it's going to be different. Clara approached and saw that he was trying to make chicken empanadas. Seriously? Chicken empanadas? It's September. I thought we could celebrate Labor Day like normal people. And since when do you know how to make empanadas? Since I called your Aunt Sophia and asked for the recipe. Clara was silent for a moment. Alexander still called her aunt from time to time. They had developed a strange friendship, where she gave him cooking tips and he sent her money to expand her empanada business. How was your day at the community clinic? He asked, peeling bell peppers. Good. We saw about 50 people today. There was an emergency with a kid who fell off his bike, but he's fine now. Don't you get tired? Of what? Of working in a place where you don't have the best conditions, where the salary isn't great? Are you offering me a job again? No. I'm just asking if you're happy. Clara sat on one of the kitchen chairs and watched him cook. They had had this conversation several times. He didn't fully understand why she preferred to work in a public health clinic instead of accepting some of the opportunities he could offer her. I'm happy, Alexander. I like helping people who really need help. I like feeling that my work matters. Your work always matters. Yes, but this is different. Here I see the direct result of what I do. That child today walked home because I was there to help him. I understand. Seriously. Seriously. At first I didn't understand, but now I do. It's the same reason why I stopped doing business just for money. How was your day today? We signed the contract with the Indigenous Weavers Cooperative in Arizona. They're going to be our official textile suppliers. And that's good? It's good for them because they'll have a stable income. It's good for us because we'll have better quality products. And it's good for my conscience. You don't miss being the ruthless entrepreneur anymore. You know what I really missed from that time? What? Nothing. I missed nothing because I wasn't happy. I just thought I was because it was what I was supposed to be. Clara got up and stood behind him, wrapping her arms around him. And now? Now I'm truly happy. And it's strange because my life is much simpler, but it feels more real. Simple life suits you well. You think so? Yes. You're a better person when you don't have to impress anyone. I only have to impress you. You don't have to impress me anymore. You already impressed me. When? When you let me go without a fight. When you respected my time. When you learned to make horrible empanadas just so my aunt would like you. Her empanadas aren't that bad. Yours are horrible. They laughed. It was something they did a lot now, laughing at small things. You know what I like most about living with you? She said. What? That we're not rushing. We're not trying to prove anything. We're not running anywhere. We're just living. Don't you get bored sometimes? Do you get bored? Never. With you, even washing dishes is interesting. That's because you always break something. I've only broken 2 plates in 6 months, and a glass. They went out to the terrace as it was getting dark. The city stretched out before them, with its lights and sounds. Clara lay down on the small sofa they had put there, and Alexander sat on the floor, resting his head on her lap. "What are you thinking about?" she asked, caressing his hair. "That I never imagined my life could be like this." "Like what?" "Peaceful, real, no drama, no complications. Just good." "Does it seem boring to you?" "It seems perfect to me." They were silent for a while, listening to the sounds of the city. A dog barked in the distance, a truck passed, someone was playing music in a nearby apartment. "Alexander." "Yes?" "You don't know how much more time we have, do you?" "What do you mean?" "No one knows how much time they have left with the person they love. But you and I started late. We lost time with misunderstandings, with pain, with distance. Does that worry you?" "No. It makes me want to make the most of every day." He turned to look at her. "What do you propose?" "I propose that every day we have together be a full day, without holding anything back, without waiting for the perfect moment to be happy." "I like that proposal." "So you accept?" "I accept, but with one condition." "Which is?" "That it starts now." Clara smiled and kissed his forehead. "Then it begins. Now." The camera slowly pulled away from the terrace, showing the city stretching infinitely under the stars. The sounds of life continuing, of millions of stories being written every day, of loves being born, growing, and enduring. And among all those stories, that of Clara and Alexander continued to be written, day by day, unhurriedly but relentlessly, with the certainty that true love is not the one that comes easy, but the one that chooses to stay. Did Clara and Alexander's story touch your heart? This novel shows us that true love doesn't always come at the perfect moment, but when it arrives in the right way, it can heal past wounds and build a future full of hope. The transformation of both characters, from pain and distrust to finding peace and authentic love, reminds us that we all deserve a second chance to be happy. If this story moved you as much as it did us, don't forget to like this video and share it with someone you think needs to hear this message of hope. We want to keep bringing you more stories that touch your heart and make you reflect on love, family, and self-improvement. If you liked this content and want to be part of our community, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any of our upcoming novels. We love knowing that we have an international audience, so tell us in the comments, where are you watching us from? Your support motivates us to continue creating quality content that reaches hearts around the world. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful story. Sources: